If you would just replace the countries and just switch Germany and Ukraine, I think the war would already be over and Germany cease to exist.
It's getting closer. Oh, it's getting closer. And everybody kind of just scattered. It went zooming over our heads and blew up, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 meters away, something like that.
Yeah, but it's just a small piece of land, right? We don't need to do something. We just talk a little bit more.
Really his own ego and trying to build a legacy of making Russia great again, I guess. I mean, we saw Pokrovsk for a while with our own eyes. Like, it was for a long time kind of just the transit city. You're going further down south, you stop there. You're going up to Kramatorsk from Dnipro, you stop there. And it was like a nice city, had cafes, clean, nice parks. Roads, little to be desired, but yeah, it was a fully functioning, nice city with everything that you really needed. And now it's just a smoldering heap of rocks and broken buildings and people being buried in front yards. Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm from the United States. I came to Ukraine in September of 22. I was working in a kitchen as a cook for about a year before.
I'm Lars. I'm from Germany in the Frankfurt region. Came to Ukraine in about March, April 22. That was more like on and off, like going here and going back to Germany until I think June 22, when I finally moved to Ukraine and pretty much stayed since. I used to work in the event industry before the war. Went into Ukraine, the first things I did was basically delivering aid from the border further into country, mainly to Kharkiv, a little bit in Zaporizhia as well. Before that was just to the border and then just aid deliveries within the country. And then eventually moved from bringing them east to bring them even further east. So like first I brought stuff to Kharkiv, and then later on from Kharkiv even further to the villages where it's like actually needed, where the people needed stuff. We've been running supplies for most of the time. Evacuations is more a newer thing that we've been doing for a year now. Yeah, basically you're starting with Vovchansk when they re-attacked Vovchansk. Shortly after that, attacks on Turetsk in New York, that's where we really started to get into evacuations and kind of continued because mainly because there were not that many people anymore that do evacuations, which was very different from 22, 23, where there were a lot of evac teams and not that many people to be brought out. They apparently all disappeared, so at the end it was fewer people that could do the job, but a lot more, especially in Turetsk in New York, that wanted to leave.
So I decided to come fairly early on, not like me actually arriving, but deciding that I wanted to, because I remember like the night the full-scale invasion started, I'd kept, a little bit before, I had some Ukrainian friends I had already known from university and kind of fallen out of touch with them. But then when the full-scale invasion started, I just remember texting them out of the blue after not talking to them for several years, mostly just to ask are you, where are you, what's going on? And they were explaining the situation. Some of them were already leaving their cities, and I kind of asked, well, is there anything I can do? And besides saying oh, we'll donate to the armed forces, they were also well, I don't know, maybe you can come here and help eventually or something. At the time, I really wasn't ready to just get up and go, but eventually I did decide that, okay, I'm gonna go in September. and originally found like just a NGO that was based in Poland that was delivering aid to like the, at that time, liberated areas just after the Kharkiv counteroffense. And from there, I pretty much, originally I was only planning on going for about 3 months, and well, like 2.5 years later, here I still am.
Higher.
Okay, careful in the middle, because that potentially falls. All right, all right.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, maybe we haul and one comes.
Yeah.
We haul. Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning it was basically learning things, because you expect, like, Ukraine is at war, so that means as soon as you cross the border, you're in a war zone. But it's a huge country, and most of the war was Far East, so it wasn't going straight to the front lines, at least for me. It was just slowly getting there. It took me like, I think the first time I came into country was in April, like early April 22. First time crossing the border, and then I think the first...
Bureaucracy, like paperwork and dealing with like officials and things like that is something that takes time to get used to. I mean, every country has officials and everything.
I think it's easier for us to stay in Ukraine than it is for Ukrainians to stay in Germany. Like, I'm pretty sure we're worse on the bureaucracy there.
Not understanding the language, and then like at the time when I started having to do that, we didn't really have a translator, which makes it quite hard. So there's a lot of just, I don't know, Google translating and pointing at things and really not having any idea what someone's trying to do, which I found quite difficult to navigate. But the people doing it were usually very friendly. It's not for like not them necessarily being the hurdle. It's mostly just not understanding the language. Of course, you have to get used to that and try to pick up what you can.
We didn't really decide to rescue civilians. It was more a need to do it. And I think it really started in Tourette's, New York, because that was a sudden increase of people that wanted to leave. Tourette's, New York have been at the same front line for so long that people were completely used to it until it suddenly moved towards them. And that was pure escalation. That was just crazy days of just driving in and out the entire day, getting as many people as possible. I mean, it kept going on after that. It wasn't, I think the front line moves the wrong direction, which means people want to leave. So the need is consistently there. Доброго дня.
Добрый день.
Evacuation.
6 человек, да?
5.
5.
3 minutes, давай. That's why the roof rack.
It's all right.
This car is not going on mission that much anymore. It's too slow, too heavy, and has transmission problems, so it's more for relaxed missions when we don't have to be super fast, then we can take that one, but it's not our main car for evacs.
He's alive, everybody's conscious, but they do have a lot of shrapnel wounds and glass everywhere. We just got that vehicle donated. That's what happens when you don't have a drone jammer. They were on an evacuation and got hit by a drone.
Well, we had an armored car.
Until about a month ago.
Yep. So things happened, and it's currently in repair, and it will be for a while. And we have a second armored car that we can use, but it's not ours. That's doing evacuations now, because it's too dangerous to take soft-skin cars. It's way too risky. We have people in the car that we're responsible for. We can't just leave them unprotected. If we do that for ourselves, that's one thing. It's not a smart thing, but totally different story than having people in the car that depend on us to get out of there and not die on the way. So for evacs, it's always an armored car. All right, perfect. Got him in.
Okay.
Probably not. Oh, we need to move. It's very different how people react to evacuations. If they are calling themselves and they know they're getting picked up at this time, people come in and get them out. We have a translator with us who is Ukrainian, so they do all this handling part. We're just there driving and carrying things or people. If people don't call themselves, if it's like relatives that said, hey, my whoever needs to be brought out, then there are very mixed reactions to that. Like there are some people that are aggressively refusing, very few, but still some. Some are just like, no, it's all right, I'll stay here, or it's usually old people. It's almost never young people. They have left a long time ago. But old people are often like, nah, this is like, where am I supposed to go? I don't have family, I don't have money, I don't know what to do. I have my community here, although there's not many people left. They're still here. Basically, the bottom line is now, I'll just stay here until I die. This is going to be, I was born here, raised here, lived my entire life here, I'll die here.
Меня еще не сегодня.
Да, сегодня тебя никто не заберет.
Ой, ну давайте когда.
Папа?
I can understand. I don't like it, but we have to accept it.
Back in May, me and our translator were doing a evacuation out of Pokrovsk. Back when Pokrovsk has now been pretty bad for a while. Back then it was kind of slowly escalating. Like we had noticed it was getting day by day slightly just more worse, but it was still doable, and we were kind of relaxed, not as in like not paying attention or anything, just like, okay, we've been here, we kind of know where like the debris are, where we need to like be very careful, to like not wreck cars. We'll get to wrecking cars later also. But there was this one point in Pokrovsk which was kind of known as like people that want to get picked up will go from different parts of the city to this one area that we know and can quickly bring a car in, load them up, get them out. And it was kind of a business as usual day, as much as it can be business as usual. Driving in, the translator noticed a drone that had been like, we're going this way and it's going that way until it turns around and then starts going in kind of where the direction that we were headed. We parked up to put the evacuee in the car, and this drone's just hanging there, kind of just staring at us. And we'd seen drones in that area before, but they'd never really reacted to us. They always just kept hovering there. Oh, it's getting closer. Oh, it's getting closer. And everybody kind of just scattered. It went zooming over our heads and blew up, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 meters away.
About 2 meters.
2 meters, something like that.
Pretty close.
So that was an experience. And then we were told later that a second drone, like as we were leaving the city, a second drone had like tried to follow us, had hit a tree and blew itself up in the tree. But then on the way out, there's a certain choke point that you have to go through, like you have to go very slow over it. And as we were going over that, looked back and noticed that there was like artillery hitting like very close to the road where we had just driven by. I was like, oh, so today the Russians really just want to obliterate us, I guess. So yeah, that was scary. I mean, just now the drone situation, anytime you see a drone, you really don't have any idea if it's Ukrainian or if it's a Russian one. And I don't want to stick around to find out. You just look online, you can see all this footage of what drones are doing, and it's not fun. Yeah, so about a month ago, the armored car, the one that we owned, was an armored BMW X5. And again, in Pokrovsk, going in, like there's like this, now they have all those drone nets, like right before it, there's like a drone hovering over it. And so we go on this wild, very fast, trying to get away from it, trying to just get distance. And at some point, due to the really bad roads, hit a pothole that sent us flying into a building, well, fence. We missed the building, but it like completely wrecked the tires and a lot of other things. Like everybody was okay, everybody survived. The drone went somewhere else, but the armored car did not survive that encounter. It was in Pokrovsk for like 16 days or something until some guys from, what was it, the 155th something, managed to drag it out. And now it's, I guess, in Germany, maybe getting repaired, hopefully. But that's why we don't have an armored car that is ours. We just use a different one. Yeah, a lot of my friends were, I guess, at first kind of confused. Like, they knew of like this war in this place called Ukraine. They didn't really know anything about it and didn't understand why like someone would go and do that, which I can perfectly understand. Now with the friends that I have like a lot of contact with, because just being away for so long, kind of don't really only just communicate with a small group of people, and they're more understanding. They kind of understand things a lot more. They also just ask questions a lot, and they're just generally supportive. A nice change to the kind of mainstream US mindset.
Some friends are like, okay, don't really understand what we're actually doing, or probably don't want to know, some of them. We work a lot with different organizations, especially with the White Angels, especially during the Pokrovsk evacs. That was a lot working with them, and that was good. We really did a lot there. We also worked with other different organizations or people, like Dennis Christoph, for example, was in Pokrovsk. There was a lot of working between, like, he goes areas that we don't, and we go areas where he's like, yeah, that's kind of like have different things to do there. So we just change missions, so to speak, and be like, hey, I've got 2 people down there, you got those, and I have another one over here, and then we just work that out. Same with the White Angels. We have some other organizations that we work with more on the back end of things, because we only get the people out of the actual difficult areas, like it was in Pokrovsk or Selidovo or Toretsk. Now it's more Konstantinivka. We get them out of there, and then different organizations bring them further west, mainly to Pavlograd, sometimes to Kharkiv.
I don't like the drones, but it is, I think, worthwhile getting people out. I know that some people have very mixed opinions on it, because a lot of people are elderly. It's a lot of old people, and they'd say, well, why are you risking your young life for somebody who's at the tail end of theirs? I still think it's important. I still think, like, a life is a life.
I didn't really know much about Ukraine. I never really focused much on it. I kind of remember the start of the war in 2014, but more like briefly in the background, like some news here and there, but nothing major. And at least what got to Western Europe was more or less Russians kind of came in, took a bunch of pieces, and then a sort of peace deal was made, and parts of the country were just handed over or started their own little republic, whatever. But that was about it. Like, I'm relatively sure I couldn't have told you who the Ukrainian president is when the war started. Like, didn't really know much about the country.
Like, why Putin decided to do all this. I saw it as just him wanting land. I mean, he's always talking about the Soviet Union and there's like Russia's lost pride, or whatever he wants to call it. I think a lot of it's just like his own ego, especially now. He's like, well, I'm slowly grinding away on the battlefield. I can't stop this. I need it, I want it. And he's willing to ruin Ukraine, probably ruin Russia, ruin a hell of a lot of lives, just to be able to reprint history books with a tiny little bit bigger Russia on the map. I think it is just pure and simple a land grab for really his own ego, and trying to build a legacy of making Russia great again, I guess, if it ever was.
Putin is slowly attacking more things. If they have the resources to do so, I'm pretty sure they will eventually attack somewhere else. Though there's basically just NATO ground left, unless they want to go east towards China or something. I don't think they're gonna do. I'm relatively sure there will be some kind of other attack in I don't know, somewhere in the Baltic states or somewhere up in Finland where there's just great nothingness. It's not a very well-populated area. Then just grab a little bit of this. And given Europe and NATO's weakness, they're just not going to do anything. They're just going to sit there and be like, yeah, but it's just a small piece of land, right? We don't need to do something. We just talk a little bit more. If you would just replace the countries and just switch Germany and Ukraine, I think the war would already be over and Germany cease to exist. Like, without NATO, there ain't much happening there. It will just be probably the entire population trying to run away, and that's basically it. Our military is not fit to actually fight a near-peer adversary or someone that's even stronger than them. There's no way Germany would have fought back in the way Ukraine did.
If the same thing were to happen in the US, we're not in a good way. Because, yeah, how do you even describe that? Like, we're like, even in natural disasters, we're just not really prepared. A lot of it comes down to, like, local areas having to plan themselves, but then also the state and federal government levels having their own other plans and own agencies that don't necessarily want to work with, like, the local agencies. And it's like, we even see it in natural disasters in the US, like a lot of forest fires and things like that. There's no coordination. Nobody has any idea what to do, really. And we actually do see in the US, it is a lot of times just individual volunteers that kind of just are like, okay, I'm gonna go do this, and go and do it. But put that in the context of the whole US, it's just gonna be chaos.
I think if the war stops tomorrow and we're just all done and finished, I think we still have a lot of work for a couple of months. Like, even the same line of work, it heavily depends how the war ends, but just assume that Ukraine takes back the entire territory, all of it. That means there's a lot of areas that are not supplied enough. There are Ukrainian population there that hasn't received what they need, especially in the frontline areas. There will be a lot of need of probably medical help, first of all, followed by just basic things, mainly in the frontline areas, but that's a very, very large area. And just supplying those, helping those, probably getting them out of there for, I don't know, people in Pokrovsk that have been in basements for who knows how long. I think there's still people in Chasiv Yar. They will need help, so there will be still a lot of time just going in, finding those people, not even talking about repairing the country, building it back up, just the immediate need there. If the war ends because we lose, different story. And we have a lot of running to do back west. But it really depends.
Which your favorite city in Ukraine?
I oddly liked New York. Mostly
Because of the name?
Mostly because of the name. But they also had like a bagel shop there that I really liked.
I think I like Kramatorsk. I don't even know why. Probably because I spend so much time here. It's probably Stockholm syndrome at this point. So I think that's actually a very beautiful thing about the East. You go out in the evening, and if it's a clear sky, you just have ridiculous amounts of stars up there. Because there's no light. Just after curfew starts, there's basically, lights are off in the streets, there's just nothing in the area at all. You look up and you just have such a beautiful sky up there. It's one of the best things in the evening when you're like up late and just have a last cigarette and look up in the sky. Beautiful.